going on, guys? Today I have a very special video. It's a comeback video, kinda. I'm gonna basically be going over like how I bought my RX-7 as a 21-year-old. To be fair, I bought it in October of 2019. The prices were high, but they weren't like super high. And it was a month before I turned 22. So I was 21 technically, but you know, I was basically 22. But yeah, I'm going to be going over how I bought mine and what you should do if you want to buy one yourself. Today's market's a little different, but I'll be going over everything in the car that kind of like made it so I was able to get it at the price I got it at. But first, let's revamp the car. Alright, we're good to go. And I really want to do this single turbo swap, but also like I'm applying to so many jobs right now. Once I get the job and I can finally do it, it's very difficult to find one. Not very difficult, but you know, it's a little tough right now. I finally moved back though. I was moving back all this past week, and we're good now. Fires up like nothing. That means it has decent compression, I think. Battery voltage is good. That's not the correct RPM. You already know. If I was idling at this, that'd be very bad. Oh, that's better. A lot better. So yeah, let's go for a little drive. I gotta wash the car too, but we'll be going over, yeah, how to get yourself a JDM car or an RX-7 or whatever you really want, because you know, there's a lot of other 90s cars from the 90s that I like too. Or like older cars, have an appreciation for like older cars versus like, you know, when I was a kid, I did like cars, but you know, I'd be like, oh, you know, I thought that Lamborghini was cool. Wait, you know, Lamborghinis are cool and stuff, but you know, it's nice to see an appreciation for a dying like car culture, if that makes sense, right? Because everybody likes Lamborghinis, yeah, they're Lamborghini, right? Everybody likes Ferraris. But not everybody knows what an RX-7 is. Not everybody knows what an NSX is, MR2s, Supras, 350Zs, 240SXs, all those, you know, all those great cars that are actually all, well, not all of them are affordable. Like, obviously the NSX is actually, it's approaching, NSX and Supra are actually approaching Lamborghini prices. But things like, you know, the 350Z, 240SX, MR2s can still be had at maybe around 10 grand, which is, it may be expensive to some of you viewers that are like younger, but to the general car community, everybody knows that around 10 grand actually it's a decent price point. You know, significantly less than a supercar or anything like super crazy, and you can still have some fun with it. But anyways, on to the video. Yeah, so my RX-7, I bought it for 11 grand. I bought it for 11 grand back in October 2019. And people, you know, you're probably wondering like how that doesn't even sound right. It doesn't, because it was a rebuilt title. So the car had a rebuilt title. It had a boost leak. I flew up to Oregon from California, a one-way ticket without a compression test. When you're buying an RX-7, you 99.99999% of the time always want to do a compression test before you even think about purchasing the car. I was stupid and I didn't know much about RX-7s. I didn't do enough research, so I just went and bought the car. I went up, flew up, didn't do the compression test. I drove it. I started it up, see if it started up, to see if it had bad compression or anything like that, or if it smelled really bad, if it smoked a ton on startup. That's all I knew. I took a big gamble. I drove the car home. I had it inspected after that, after I purchased it. I was lucky enough to have it have 110 on both faces, on both rotors. So, you know, 110 psi on, you know, while it's warm it's pretty good. That's very good compression. Bad compression would be anywhere under like 70 to 80. That's when you would need a rebuild. 90 plus, you're like in the mid range. Anything over like 100, 110, you're solid. It's a good motor. So I just happened to get very lucky. Had I not, I would have been down another $4,000 to $5,000 for a rebuild or a new motor. For all of you looking for RX-7 shells, you can pick one up and you can get a brand new crate motor from Mazda, the 13B REW or REW, for like 4,600 shipped to your door or shipped to a shop. Maybe costs a little extra if you're shipping it to a shop because shop tax, JDM tax, you know the deal. But oh, never gets. Oh, sorry. Back to what I was saying. Wait, not sealed? Hold on. Give me a sec. I got this window. Okay, there we go. I think it's sealed now. Anyways, yeah, so that was a very big risk I took. So I could have either been up saved 5 grand, or I could have been down 5 grand from that compression test, and that I did not take. So keep in mind that, that's why I got it for $11,000, because I said, hey man, I don't know, there's no compression testers in Oregon or whatever we met, so there's no way of getting one. And he was a really busy guy, and no one was biting on the ad because they were scared of the compression. I just took the risk, which is, don't ever do this. This is really stupid. Don't ever buy an RX-7 without getting a compression test. Like I said before, I just happened to get very, very lucky. Now, the car also had a massive boost leak. Most of the piping, like the silicone pipings with the intercoolers, were cracked. The rear ball joints in the control arms, I'm pretty sure they were near shot. The front sway bar end links, those bushings or whatever, those are crushed. They're cracked as well. They're making noise. Let's see what else. It had a massive exhaust leak. The mid pipe was like, I don't know what was wrong with the high flow cat, but it was done. It was really audible. It sounded like a fart can. It sounded terrible. What else? The RPM gauge wasn't working well. It was untuned. Another thing, it was on a base map that would over boost, and it was just terrible, and I couldn't drive it to its full capabilities. Let's see, the rear tint, I don't know if you guys can see about that, but the rear tint is bubbling. So whoever put the tint on was, not gonna say an idiot, but did not know what he was doing. This thing zipped in. I have no idea why. The front bumper was sagging a lot. It's not sagging as much because I put the front bumper support in, but before I bought it, it didn't have a front bumper support. So if I got in an accident, the whole thing would have been crushed. And then the rebuild title was obviously the biggest deciding factor. It was in a little fender bender. Just had a new radiator support welded in. And then what else? Oh, I have the heat on, that's why it's hot. I was like, why am I sweating? Let's see what else. It's missing that door thing. It's missing some interior. It was missing some interior pieces. It still is. I haven't done anything to the interior. You can see the glove box is missing. The dash actually isn't bad. The dash isn't cracked, and the gauge cluster is fine, other than the RPM gauges. It's kind of weird sometimes, but at the end of the day, it still works right now. For now, knock on wood. The steering wheel. The steering wheel, I have no idea. It was this hub, or no, it was a different hub and a different wheel. The wheel was just like done. It was like super flimsy. It felt like an Xbox, like literally like an Xbox One steering play wheel. Maybe even worse than that. I think that my Xbox One steering wheel is actually better than the one that came on the car. Let's see this thing. You can already see it's cracked. This is cracked as well, interior pieces. Speakers are both blown out, so I had to replace the speakers as well. Yeah, I think that's it. But I mean, okay, no, that's not it, but it's quite a bit of things. So that's how I got mine for 11 grand. Now, on to this second thing. A lot of people ask, like, should I wash my car here? Yeah, I think I'll wash my car here. A lot of people ask, Eric, like, should I buy this car as my daily? And I'm like, look, man, okay, here's the thing. So you can spend a lot of money and get a good RX-7, and it will probably be like somewhat reliable-ish, more reliable than my car at least, right? So you can spend 30 grand and get a good solid RX-7 for 30 grand. and you say, should I daily it? Well, that's up to you, because all old cars will always have problems. That's the thing. No matter how well it was taken care of, this car's still almost 30 years old. It's 28 years old. It's a 93. It's gonna have a problem as long as you drive it. It will not nearly be as reliable as a car from 2020 or that was manufactured in the last 5 years, right? So that's another big thing. So if you're willing, if you have another reliable source of transportation, yeah, you can get an RX-7, but I don't know if I'd do it as your only you know, source of transportation, because if something goes wrong, you know, it's like, then what are you gonna do to get to work, or etc., right? The only reason I bought this car is because I had a spare car. I had a Honda Civic, and I was able to drive that around when this car wasn't running. Had I not had that Civic, I would have been totally screwed. So I'm gonna finish the video, or I'm gonna continue the video, but let me wash the car first. All right, we made it out of the car. Oh my god, that's a big ass truck behind me. Made it out of the car wash. Oh my god, bro, what is that? Okay, I hope I can get out. Please. Oh, I have no traction. Okay, we're good. Anyways, so where was I? Where'd I finish? Or where'd I leave off? Nice Lexus. Anyways, the reality of only owning a car from the 90s or any older car is that it's probably prone to breaking down. And if you're okay with that, and you can afford that, and you can make those sacrifices, then sure. But if you have a job where you need to get to work, and you need, it literally says in the job description, like, need reliable transportation, no, you should not buy one. That is the stupidest thing you can ever do. You know, people always like ask, like, oh, you know, like, you know, just they're really expensive to maintain. Like, yeah, they can be. They most definitely can be, especially if you take it to a shop. If you do it yourself, you can save some money. The reason I got this for so cheap is because it needed work. I could have bought one for $25,000 back then that was fully built, fully done. But instead, I chose to buy one that was clapped out and on the very lower end of the market for $11,000, and fix it up and do what I wanted to it myself over time. So, you know, it all really depends on what you want. If you want a fully built car already, you can totally do that. Buy one for like 30 to 35K now. Or you can buy one on the cheaper end for maybe like, okay, in today's market, probably like 15 to 20K, and, you know, continuously dump money into it. Is that the smartest thing to do? No, but that's how I got mine at the age of 21. I was working the past like 4 years before that, every single summer and throughout the school year. In order to afford it, I finally had the money. I sold my 350Z. In October 2019, I found this car posted for $13,000. I offered him $11,000 to pick it up the next day. He said, yep. I flew up to Washington and bought the car. Did it need a crap ton of work? Yes, it did. Does it still need work? It definitely does after almost 2 years. And that's you know, that's the reality of it. So if you guys want to have like a cool JDM car, there will be sacrifices. You will have to make sacrifices. This car's been down for a total of probably, since I've owned it, 3 months in total, which isn't too bad. Soon to be more as I switch over the single turbo, but that's also not due to maintenance. That's just due to me wanting to modify the car. Keep in mind, it was down for 3 months due to maintenance in the past. So if you're willing to make those sacrifices, and you're willing to bang your head on your steering wheel when you can't figure out the issue of owning a 28-year-old car, by all means, you can totally buy a clapped out car from the 90s. But that's what you get. But just make sure that you have another car, you know, just buy a beater or something. I mean, I got that Prius. You guys seen my Prius. It was really cheap. It was under $1,000. I picked it up for under $1,000. Runs great. Has AC, radio works, 106,000 miles, hybrid, 50 miles to the gallon. I can't complain. This car, not under $1,000. I'm almost $20,000 deep into it. It has 91,000 miles, even less, and it's on its second motor. And it gets 10 miles to the gallon, a fifth of the MPGs my Prius does. So yeah, this is basically like my guide to buying an RX-7 or any car from the 90s. It's expensive, and it's going to need work to make power. You're going to need money and work in order to beat any modern day car. So it really depends on what you want. If you want to be cool, and you know, you like the feeling of older cars like I do, You know, these are the sacrifices you have to make. You have to sacrifice comfortability, you have to sacrifice reliability, you have to sacrifice usually gas mileage, and you have to sacrifice your own patience, because it will be tested when you own one of these cars. But yeah, I'll do one last pull for y'all, but I hope you I hope this video was kind of insightful, and I'll see you guys in the next video.
Smoking gas, living fast, wearing velvet. Can you take a 4 or 5 to the pelvis? Plenty money going around, I'm not selfish, and the ladies love me, Elvis. Smoking gas, living fast, wearing velvet. Can you take a 4 or 5 to the